So when you first get started using the shallow pit blind method, you can take a shovel and something to sit on, and you're going to go and try to find something with some back cover, like I've got here with the cedar tree, and some structure, something in front of you, either permanent or something portable. You can drag branches and put them up in front of you. You're just going to go and you're going to try and see what happens, and there's a lot of fun in that. After you've done that for a while, you're going to understand the value of an in-ground blind and what it offers. You're going to want to just be able to go and open the lid, sit down, not make a sound, and surprise deer, wherever that is. Understanding thermals is a big part of that. You get downhill, if you're in flat ground, just stay downwind to where the deer are likely to pass, and you can have a blast doing that. A lot of people have asked me if I've actually ever killed a deer with this method, because they're disbelievers. They don't believe it can happen. Well, just here to remind you, before tree stands became legal, everyone hunted from the ground, and some of the biggest bucks in the world have been killed while the hunter, whether an archer or a firearms guy or girl, was on the ground. Matter of fact, Mel Johnson shot the world record typical buck in Illinois, and he was sitting on the ground when he did it, just hiding behind a bush. The shallow pit blind method just allows you to be comfortable. It's like you're just like sitting on a chair. So as you get older, like me, mid-50s, I can sit for hours. It's just like being in the stadium watching a game, or being in the house watching TV. You're comfortable. And no other hunting technique is going to allow you to hunt that long in your life. It's a shame people retire and they realize that they aren't going to be able to do what they thought they were going to be able to do because the body just, goes to heck. If you can walk, if you can see, if you've got these pit blinds in, you're going to be able to hunt as long as you want, as long as you're physically able. So, but anyhow, back to people have asked whether or not I've actually killed deer, and understand I'm a very private person, and I try not to share a lot of my personal life with anyone except for my family. But one day I'll share this day with you. My daughter came to video. I had some luck in a local woodlot here, and she came to film the recovery, and we'll put that on here. So not to prove anything, okay, as it really doesn't matter to me what everyone believes or not, but it is important to me that people understand that this is a viable technique. All the experts on YouTube are saying you got to be in a saddle, or you got to be 30 feet up in the air, or you got to be this and you got to be that. It comes down to surprising deer. If you can surprise them, you have a chance at them. If you tell them you're coming, it's going to be harder. So, okay, enough chatter. Let's go to the video, and we'll share some of my life. All right, hope you enjoy. So, real briefly, before we go to that video of the recovery, I need to show you something so that you understand what I'm saying at the beginning of the video. So, okay, check this out and show you my setup here. So what I've got is my little shovel. I stick it in the ground, and then I made a bracket that attaches to a camera arm that allows the camera to pivot. Okay, so I can just move it right where I want, and it also hides me. So I can film and turn just like you would if you were using the camera up in a tree stand and capture hunts. And people are asking me, how come all these does are walking right by you without you being spotted? Well, this is how. I'm hiding behind the shroud. It's not a perfect system because the camera lens, is a big black object, and that reminds deer of a deer's nose, and that's what they're looking for. They're looking for other deer. So, like I said, they will look at that and wonder sometimes what that is, and that can cause an interesting situation. But this is just a 3-wire mesh that I've woven things through, and you can take native vegetation and weave that through that and make that perfectly natural. And I usually do that. I'll take some grasses and some branches and weave that through there so it looks more natural, but you still end up with the camera lens. Well, now I'm using my cell phone to video with, and the camera lens is about the size of a dime, and so I expect that I'm going to have a lot better footage and closer footage coming up in years to come. So one of these days I'm going to make a video for you do-it-yourself kind of people to show you how to make this. It's not hard at all, but it starts with sticking a shovel in the ground. And so now let's go to the recovery video, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. So I got up this morning and hunting close to a bedding area next to a highway, but I was pretty confident that putting the shovel in the ground, it's real rocky up here where we put in the blind, might just be the difference between seeing a deer and not seeing a deer. So I decided not to bring the camera and the camera arm and just hunt and see what would happen. Come on, let's go take a look. Well, this is where the magic happened this morning. The buck was standing up my shoot lane. It's about 18 yards away. He was standing with his butt toward me, looking over his shoulder after 2 deer spooked from over here. He was looking at them, and he actually caught me drawing just a little bit. He was looking right at me when I let the arrow go. He went about 40 yards and tipped over. So we're going to get him. Speck of blood. He went over there. He's laying. He's over there about 25 yards away. Maybe 20 yards away. Horizontal shooting right there. 25 yards.
Oh, Dad, that's a nice buck.
That's the exit hole there on the shoulder. He was quartering away pretty good. Alright. Look at the carnage here. It's all from a 2-blade. When you're on the ground, they're looking right at you. It's the old hard going. Okay, let's leave him here for now. We'll see if we can find the doe. Yes, you can kill 2 deer from the ground in the same minute. Giddy up. That's deer number 3 from the ground, by the way, for the season. I'm officially done with archery. 9 days is gun season. We got Claire to film too, so maybe she'll get a deer. Alright, pretty cool. Ooh, deer. Now the work begins. Field dressing. That was a pretty good morning. So that was a day in the life of Paul, and I mentioned that I was looking forward to filming Claire. And so Claire's a busy girl, and she doesn't get out hunting too much, but we were able to get together one day and we went for a hunt, and we'll put that footage on here right now. Alright, check this out. So me again, just a note for you parents or you mentors out there, if you're interested in getting a kid interested in hunting, deer hunting, whatever, turkey hunting, whatever the case may be, I really encourage you to keep them out of the box blind, keep them out of the tent. If it's cold and they need to suffer a little bit, because that's what makes hunting different than every other activity out there. You're out in nature. You're supposed to be able to see it and smell it and hear it in all of its infinite detail. So from that hunt with Claire, you can see how that might get a kid interested in hunting. So I really encourage you to use this technique. Be safe. If you're in gun season or on public property, you need to wear some orange. We don't want anyone getting hurt using this technique being on the ground. There are a lot of morons out there. Okay, but just so you don't feel bad for Claire, she's picky. Okay, she was raised at a time where I wouldn't shoot little bucks, and unfortunately both of my daughters are at that stage and they haven't shot that many bucks. Matter of fact, Becca hasn't shot a buck yet, and she's had plenty of opportunities at young deer. But anyway, this last year Claire went out with her husband and they used the shallow pit blind technique, and it allows you to hunt in places you can't with any other technique. Okay, so I'm going to share this hunt with you as well, just to show you that it's a very versatile technique, and if you're not using it, you're missing the boat. So check out this hunt with Claire and her husband Joe. Another pretty good day. All right, enjoy.
So for this particular hunt, my husband and I were hunting a property that we both have had a lot of success with in the past, and it had been a very, very wet fall. So wet, in fact, that the farmer actually hadn't been able to remove the soybean crop from the field yet. A couple days prior, my husband had been up in a tree and he noticed a lot of deer were entering the property from this one particular area. And we were talking over with my dad trying to figure out how we could hunt that area, and my dad said, why don't you dig in the middle of the field? Dig a hole in between two soybean rows and just set up there. I mean, the soybeans are as tall as you would be, so they probably wouldn't even suspect that you were there. And if they did, they wouldn't know you were human. And I remember my husband Joe and I looking at each other and thinking, I don't know if that's going to work. But we didn't have any better options, so we decided to give it a go. And about 2:30 in the afternoon, we finally got set up. Like I said, it had been a very wet fall, so it was super easy to dig in. And we got all situated, and as we were setting up, my husband and I were discussing, okay, well, if we do get an opportunity, who's going to be the one to shoot first? And we ended up flipping a coin, and I won the coin toss. So any first crack at a deer was mine, and anything after that was his. But we were still pretty skeptical at this point. But after being set up for only 45 minutes or so, we had deer in our field. We had some does come out to the left of us as we were set up, and after a couple minutes, we also had deer come out to our right. And I just remember thinking, which one do I go for? And then I saw her, the biggest doe of the bunch. So I tried to move my shooting stick from the center to the right so I could get set up for a good angle. But every 10 seconds or so, we would have the does to the left look at us, which would make the does to the right look at us. Then Joe said he had everything in frame, so as soon as I could, I shot the big doe, and after I shot, we saw this big deer run away, and I thought, oh no, I should have waited. That was a buck. I know it was a buck. And Joe said, well, we still have 45 minutes left. Let's wait and see what happens. Well, 20 minutes later, that buck comes walking into the field. I don't know how we didn't see him sneak through, but he came strolling in the field, and I quick grabbed the camera, and Joe grabbed his gun, and as he was swinging his gun across his body to get a better shot, his sling nicked some soybeans and it made a noise. And that buck was onto us, staring us down. So he had to make a bit of a rush shot, but it was a good one. It ended up being a pretty successful hunt. 2 deer out of the middle of a soybean field. So my dad was right. As much as it pains me to say. No, I'm just kidding. So it ended up being a very successful hunt.
So if this stuff is interesting to you and it's something you want to learn more about, really encourage you to like and subscribe and share this information with your friends. We have a lot of changes that need to happen in hunting these days. Some of the old school stuff is there for a reason. And we're going to talk a lot about that stuff. How you can become a better hunter, better deer manager, buck-to-doe ratios, habitat management. There's a lot of BS on YouTube right now. A lot of people calling themselves experts. And like I said, I'm a private person, but I'm going to share as much as I can because we need to make some changes. And I don't want to be the face of change and to point out everything that's wrong with hunting. But we're going to make some strides here, and hopefully you're going to get into this. All right, thanks for watching.